Welcome to You Got to Laugh to Keep from Crying. My name is O.W. Sweeney, and I'm here with my co-host and my brother, Brother Courts. How you feeling today, my brother?
I'm feeling pretty good, as always, when I'm side by side with you.
All right, then.
And we're trying to expose the injustices of the
what
system.
we're trying to do, first thing we'd like to do, is get the North Carolina Triad Jobs with Justice, where you reach us at 336-272-2758.
And if you didn't press me, I might have remembered that we want to say the North Carolina Triad Jobs with Justice at gmail.com or the phone number that we just mentioned.
Okay, then that's fine now.
Okay.
Now, what we're going to talk about today, we're going to stay on the what's to say with this fascist government that we are.
Yeah, I mean, what I'd like us to address to our viewers is an answer to the question: what does U.S. fascism look like today? And I think we have several specific confrontations that illustrate the fascist nature, in particular, of the Trump regime up to this point. And it's continuing, as you and I both know, to deepen its stranglehold on the people of the country. So the first one that I wanted to raise with our viewers is, and it's very close to home, and you and I are always talking about, well, we want to have local news and all of that. And the good news locally, out of the bad news, that Mohamed Ali Abu Bakr Naser, a man from Libya, 50 years old, who's a Greensboro resident, and
don't forget, legally in the United States of America.
Legally in the United States, legally in a job, working his job.
You mean he was paying taxes too?
He's servicing machines for Wendy's restaurants. That's his job. And he was basically taken off. He was actually taken from one of the Wendy's restaurants when he was working. And that's where they got him. Because to his credit, and to the credit of his wife and kids, so some of whom are grown, they actually fought to not open their door, to the ICE thug agents, who, as they do not identify themselves with any kind of official identification. And they actually, the first time they came to, the ICE thugs came to their house, he was at work. It was like 9 a.m. one morning. And they intimidated his wife and kids. And, said, we'll be back and all. And they came back at lunchtime, and he came home for lunch from his job, working at these various Wendy's restaurants. And they tried to follow him into the house, and the family would not let them in, and they eventually left. So it was only a couple of days later that these cowardly thugs of ICE got him at one of the Wendy's where he was working, and took him and kidnapped him and led them to send him to Georgia to a prison there.
Now you're trying to tell me that with all the finances that those ICE agents have, they could not have found out that he was legally in the United States, legally working, legally paying his taxes, doing everything a citizen of this country would do, that they did not go far enough to find all this information out, only that he was an immigrant to this country. They locked him up. They kidnapped him to Georgia.
Right. I do mean to tell you all of that, except he is not a citizen. He is legally entitled as an immigrant to work in this country.
As a citizen would.
Just like a citizen would.
That's right.
Right, that's true. I mean, and he's in the process of applying
for citizenship
as well. And
they couldn't find this out.
Right. And no, his wife.
They didn't care to find this out.
They refused to find that out because his wife was ready to offer them, and did offer them, when they came to their home by surprise at 9 a.m. the first time, she offered them all of the documentation that showed he was totally legit in every way. He's also a 50-year-old man, and his wife is a citizen, and I believe his wife is a citizen. 3 of their 5 children are U.S. citizens, and she was working on a PhD when they first came, and he was working, and that was 17 years ago or so. And the thing that where ICE made a big mistake in this case, O.W., is that this man is extremely popular with all of the people basically that know him and and work with him and are in the community with him and all of that. So there was a groundswell of support for him, and 100 people signed up to be speakers at the meeting where his situation was being discussed. But there's a lot of positive in this. But the main thing is something negative, and that is that someone who's done everything right is still brutalized by Trump's ICE machine.
I just want you to ask that question that you asked at the beginning, so people understand what you're talking about.
What does U.S. fascism look like? Exactly.
That's right.
So probably, I'm glad that you did that, because probably the cutting edge of this razor-sharp fascist threat to all of us.
Well, you call it dictatorship.
As the sharpest edge is ICE.
Yes.
And it's become even sharper now that the vicious, abominable spending and tax plan, taxing us,
robbing the poor to give to the rich,
robbing the poor to give to the rich, and one of the big payoffs is that ICE, of all police institutions,
yes,
went from being a marginal, a small potato, all of a sudden almost in this bill, where they become the biggest police agency in the United States.
Almost like the SS Gestapo, huh?
Exactly, right. Yeah, that's and the citizens are paying. The citizens are paying. And there was a vote in Congress. Here I go. There was a vote in Congress to that passed it. Even though it only passed with whatever by one person or 2 people, it passed both houses. And
what is a Republican-dominated House, a Republican-dominated Senate, and there's a dictator in the White House.
And don't forget the Supreme Court that has ruled that the dictator in the White House can do no wrong, basically, right?
As long as he's doing it as the president of the United States.
As long as he's doing the bidding of Wall Street, the Wall Street ruling class in the United States. So, but at any rate, the good news also includes about him that not only did was he let out yesterday after about 2 weeks in Georgia in detention, but that 5 Democratic members of the state Senate,
legislature,
and the state House, and I want to mention their names because they did come through, as you always are saying, that people that are elected officials need to come through for their
constituents. Up for the constituents. That's
and
correct.
So, Representative Amos Quick, Senator Gladys Robinson, Senator Michael Garrett, Representative Tracy Clark, and Representative Pricey Harrison, as a group, wrote a letter to Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, and you know her by the Noem on her head, I guess. But they called for the immediate release of a beloved local man ICE picked up in Greensboro. And so it's to their credit that they responded well also.
Oh, yes.
Doing their job and doing it up against the Trump regime. And
the Trump
ICE,
flunkies.
What I think is the cutting edge of the fascist drive right now, which is to try to get most of the citizens of the country to go against the immigrant people. And as you said earlier to me,
if you're not an indigenous person to this country, you're immigrant.
You're all immigrants, right? Okay, but and really, that's the man who was one of the leaders of Indivisible, the group that led that great successful 5 or 6 million person protest against kings, including King Trump, and in particular,
they wasn't talking about the freedom fighter Martin Luther King Jr.
No, that's true. They were talking about King.
They
Trump.
were talking about the dictator Donald J. Trump.
Exactly, and that man, Ezra Levin, had made the observation when analyzing the big bad bill, and it's really, we can put bad underlined, the abominable bill, as Elon Musk admitted when he was waging his fight with Trump, that the worst immediate impact, according to Ezra Levin, is the growth all of a sudden, this mushrooming of the ICE machine, the ICE thugs around the country. And we had seen in Los Angeles and in that area around, within some distance of Los Angeles in Southern California, that the ICE forces, and we pointed it out on our show, you and I, that the ICE forces were not doing what Trump had said they would do. They were not going after thugs, rapists, and so on and so forth. They were going after hardworking, day-to-day people in the jobs at places like. Well,
there's an old saying: "Birds of a feather flock together."
Yeah.
And all the stories we are hearing is not about criminals, but about decent people trying to make a decent living in this country.
Absolutely, and so
they're not in Trump's category. Don't forget, 34 count convicted felons. They have no conviction, so they can't be in his birds of a feather.
Okay, but what they can be is the very opposite of the people that he described that he was going to get out of the country first. Now, he never said he was going to only send out felons and bad.
But that was supposed to have been his primary target. A lot of people voted for him. A lot of people voted for him because of the criminal element that he was talking about.
That's true.
But what he forgot to tell him, that he's the lead criminal.
Well, whatever he forgot, he actually presented this in such a way as to get people, his base mainly, and mainly a white supremacist base, including many white workers, to buy into the idea.
White workers, you had black workers buying into it, you had everybody.
That's true.
Because they looked at something called the economy, which he's supposed to be doing better, supposed to make better at, which he haven't so far, only made it worse.
Well, that's okay, but I want to focus. That's true, and that is a key ingredient of fascism, that it presents itself as a populist movement, as a populist movement. Wait a minute, as a populist movement that will represent the interests of the ordinary person, and in reality, they represent the billionaires.
Well, is that what they call pulling the wool over your eyes?
Well, that's what they do. It's not. They carry out violence, and we see that especially with ICE immigrants, at people who look like they could be immigrants and not white enough for the white supremacist society that Trump is rallying people to, a white nationalist society. But so that's the thing with Brother Naser is that there was a groundswell of support that included these 5 Democratic local Congress people from our area, legislators, and the biggest takeaway to me, OW, is, I want to mention, because I'm not usually one that supports the News and Record. The News and Record coverage, and particularly the writing of Nancy McLaughlin, a reporter for the News and Record, was quite good on this. And unlike most of the capitalist newspapers, including the News and Record, normally, that tread very lightly when they're making even the slightest criticism of the billionaires and their stooges. This time, they really came out and supported this brother, Naser, who's from Libya, I think I mentioned, originally, and his family of hardworking, decent, dignified people. And that's really a good thing. Well, but let me just say one last thing about this.
One last thing I want you to say when you get finished is to give those Democrats their credit by mentioning their name one more time.
I did.
One more time. Just mention their name one more time so people understand that there are some people out here that will fight for us.
Representative Amos Quick, Senator Gladys Robinson, Senator Michael Garrett, Representative Tracy Clark, and Representative Pricey Harrison.
Thank you.
Okay. So the last point I want to make about this case is everybody who's being picked up is not the model person or the model citizen that this fine brother is. But everybody deserves to not be picked up if they haven't made a crime.
The point is, the Trump administration don't care who they pick up, as long as they pick up somebody to show that they're doing something, to show their base that they're trying to deport immigrants.
Right. That's right.
That's all the Trump administration do.
Okay,
no matter how righteous they are, or how decent of a citizen they are, or how much they're trying to become citizens of the United States, he don't care. He just want to put a false face that he's doing something.
Right.
And his constituents are the ones who need to jump on him about this here. They need to write him and tell him they need to follow those people and correct their records, follow what they've done against this country.
Anyway, I'm not sure I understand exactly what you just said.
What I'm saying is they need to check them out to make sure that the people who they're deporting should and need to be deported. That's not just a blanket threat of an immigrant and you being thrown in jail.
What I believe is, and I believe this wholeheartedly, that the cutting edge of this rising fascism under Trump is being placed mainly on the shoulders of the immigrant workers in this country at this point. Mainly on the shoulders, not entirely. Afro-Americans, as historically, are caught up in all of this as victims as well, and many others. But that's the cutting edge of it. And that when we saw what was going on, when Trump forced the state of California and and Gavin Newsom as governor and the fine woman of color.
I know you. I can't think of her name. Good as I can see that woman's face in my mind. Just
Karen Bassett.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
That
Mayor Bassett.
And where they protested against bringing in federal troops, and deputizing California National Guards to be under Trump instead of under the state authorities and the authorities in California, and then the Marines themselves. And what we learned then, O.W.,
it's just there's this authoritarian regime we got in power here.
What we learned then, that's right, was they were not going after criminals. They were going after hardworking people who were reporting to work day to day, supporting their families. So it was farm workers. They went out to the farms.
Who is needed.
And they were all needed. And they were so needed that Trump, for a day or two, back because of the pressure from the capitalists in California that were losing their workers, Trump backed off for a couple of days, and then he was told by his own fascist advisors like Stephen Miller that, no, we've got to keep the pressure on getting the numbers of the people deported, and so on. So, but this incident right now that we just have been, and we're still involved with, and we need to be involved here in Greensboro and Winston-Salem with Brother Naser and his family. And we'll have more on this topic later on. I mean, in a future show or more.
Yeah.
But the thing is that this incident here in Greensboro became a specific, pure example of what we learned when ICE was marauding over the people of Los Angeles and the farming community. Right.
But I would like for us to touch on the Trump administration and how they, on one hand, they are supporting Israel, and the other hand, they're trying to show a little sympathy for the Palestinians. For instance, Netanyahu is saying there's no phantom in Gaza. But Trump said things are bad and there is phantom in Gaza. But yet, on the other hand, he's providing the arms to Netanyahu to produce that phantom. And the people have to understand they're trying to play both sides of the coin.
Yeah. Well, I think that even more dramatic is the fact that the Israeli population, which is a white settler population by and large, it was reported in our press here in this country that they were shocked by the news that Palestinians in Gaza are basically now experiencing a mass famine, and Trump's answer simply was that he and his wife, seeing it on TV, they can even recognize that there is this famine. That's the one positive thing he said. But as you pointed out, he, as well as Biden before him, has enabled this situation to come about and has given his blessing to it right up until the present. But so the interesting thing, the shock of the Israelis at this news shows you how a population in a country that's supposedly democratic, which Israel is, we're told that in this country all the time how democratic it is, that population is sealed off from news of what's going on in their own area and under their vicious, bloody dictator himself, Netanyahu. But in this country, this is where Mahmoud Khalil was attacked at Columbia University and removed from his home and sent to Louisiana for more than 3 months, during which time his wife had their first child and all, because Mahmoud Khalil has been one of the most effective defenders of Palestinian freedom in the United States, and the ability of the U.S. media to seal us off as a people, not you and me, but the average person in this country, from any positive news about the Palestinian people or any sympathy for the 60,000 Palestinian people in Gaza alone that have been murdered by the Israeli settler regime, and they backed by our tax money and our authority.
And what I see is a big importance that the people who have supposed to have been crucified so much by a dictator would turn on another human being and do the same thing that was done to them.
Yeah, and to be specific about it, one of the things that I was responding to when I heard about the Israelis being shocked is that in World War II, once the Soviet-led victory over Nazi Germany took place and there was the Nuremberg trials, the German people claimed they didn't know about all the murders that were going on in these concentration camps. So some of what the Israelis are doing right now, the Israeli population, exactly as you said, is that they're feigning ignorance about something that they know damn well is happening. But some of it is also the responsibility of the
United States for backing them.
And of the media in both the United States and Israel. And so I think with that, we're going to have to conclude our show on our positive note. In our unity lies our strength.